Alright y'all, so today I'm going to show you how to use the Duic a plugin for After Effects to create an animation that's kind of just looking like this guy right here. So press space, boom. Look at him walking, and I have a scrolling background. But yes, I'm going to show you how to do all that today. First step, go to your Google and find, just type in Duic Basel. It's going to take you to their website and just download their asset. It's going to come in as a zip. So if you go to your downloads menu, you're going to want to take you're going to want to unzip that and into its own folder, and then it's going to come out with this script UI panels. It has this whole it has all these files in here, but we just need script UI panels. Select that file, control copy, and then go to on your local disk, program files, Adobe, After Effects. I know that looks like a program you're clicking, but that's just a folder. And then support files, and then we're looking for scripts, script UI panels, and then paste it into here. Now over in After Effects, you're going to go to you're going to go to Edit, Preferences, General, and then once this opens up, you're going to be able to click Scripts and Expressions and do Allow Scripts to Write Files and Access Network. Boom. So make sure that option is checked, otherwise it won't work. Then go to Windows, Duic Basel 2.jsx, and there we go. We have our plugin window open. I'm going to go to File, New Project entirely. Let's not save this. And I'm just going to do New Composition. I'll say Walk Cycle Comp. That'll be the scene where we combine all of our elements. And yeah, so let's just go to OK right there. And then we need to import our character. So our character, you can do that in like Photoshop. But yeah, so let's do import file. You can make a character in Photoshop, but the key is that you have to have all of your limbs on different layers. So like your hand needs to be on a different layer, your arm, your shoulder, that needs to be on a different layer. Anything that you want to bend, basically. And then I'll show you that with mine. So in art right here, let's do Red Wizard, no poses. Do import as composition, retain layer sizes. Make sure that's checked in there. You'll see that if you, so I'll import this one just so we have the actual thing in there, and it's going to create a folder there. I'm going to say yes. And then if I double click on that composition, it's going to bring me into that source file. And so this is what I'm talking about. See how the hand is on a different layer than the rest of the arm. If I do the forearm and then move that, and I'm just using my V tool, you can see that I have that rounded out sort of at that joint right there. So let's move that down a little bit, and then let's move this hand as well. Boom. You can also use the arrow keys to move them a little bit. But yeah, so they has to be on different layers. If you're importing let's import files, let's go to a Photoshop file. If you're importing a Photoshop file for this, whoops, let's go here. Duic animation. Make sure you just have this clicked. So make it sure it's composition, retain layer sizes, editable layer styles. Boom. That'll give you all the layers in that scene. Also, let's go back to this source file. Notice how lower in this list I have that rough, like you can see barely that rough layer behind everything. You feel free to just click that and just delete it. We don't need that in the scene. We just need the character itself, the finalized character. All right, so now with that Duic Basel window open, just go and change these settings with this little wrench icon and do standard instead of rookie, and then click apply changes right here, this button. And then it'll think for a little bit, and then that'll just make sure that we have all the same settings there. Next, we're going to go into rigging. You can either click this button or this little one. And then make sure you're in the rigging tab. This is in the, or the create structures tab. This is the links and constraints. Boom. And our first step is going to be to create our hominoid. So click that button, and it's going to give us all of our skeletal pieces. These are all the structures that we're going to parent all of our drawings to. This isn't going to be what we move around when we're animating. We're instead going to create the rig through the plugin itself, and like just automatically, and then we'll move those pieces around, the controls. But these are the skeletal pieces, and then we need to match this skeletal system up to our character. So follow along with me. We're going to start with this base pelvis. Notice how let's expand this a little bit. Notice how I'm going to just place that at the center of that waist. This is going to be where our hips right there. This is going to be, if you scroll down in the list, you can see exactly what you're selecting. Spine 1, that's going to control this, this drawing right here. Oh, wait, well, let's go. It's going to control this drawing right here. So we need to make sure it's in the right spot. And I just put it center of that mass. And then let's take this spine 2. We're just aligning these to kind of the pivot point that those drawings are going to pivot from. So let's do that. It's going to be at the base of the skull. So that looks great. Always start with like the top node in the chain. So notice how like I'm moving that whole leg around at once. You want to start with that node. And let's go in here. I'm just going to put that where the hip exists. I'm going to put this where the knee is going to bend from. Perfect. And then let's arrange this. Sometimes they become really annoying to select, and that's because your drawings are getting in the way. Oftentimes, I like to just lock all of my drawing layers so I don't accidentally select them while I'm doing this process, and then it makes just clicking on these a lot easier. And then I'm going to put this at the ankle. And you'll notice that my feet are pointing the wrong way. That's not any sort of problem for the system. I'm just going to select off that. I'm just going to select this foot and reverse it. There we go. Nice. And then let's take this heel and bring it all the way back to that foot. So that's how we're just going to swap it around. You might notice that these limbs bend a little bit weird when you're actually animating them, and we can reverse those as well, and it won't be too much of a problem. But yeah, just get these hips in the right spot. Don't like swap these. Like, don't make your hip like your knee. That's just not going to work at all. Like, keep see this leg structure. You want to keep that solid. Don't mess with that. Otherwise, the auto rig part of the script is not going to work. But yeah, so let's put those into position. And then I'm just getting these lined up. And there we go. So that's the whole foot. And let's get this heel. Make sure to grab that heel and move it back here. There we go. So that's looking fantastic now. I already did the spine all the way to the top. You can drag this to the head tip if you'd like. And let's drag this. This is the arm. Looks a little bit weird. Looks like a praying mantis arm. That's going to work fine for us. Let's just drag that shoulder point to that shoulder. Let's drag this elbow to the elbow. Let's drag this hand or the wrist to that hand, and let's drag this to the tip of the hand right there, and let's move this one back. Let's get that elbow situated. And this will look fantastic. And there we go. So now we have all of our skeletal systems aligned to our drawings. Next step is I want you guys to just save before you do these big ones. So let's do save. I'm just gonna name it Duick setup. Now let's just do Duick rig wizard. There we go. And next up is we need to create our rig, like the actual rig. This is just our skeletal structures in here. You see this S that stands for structure right there. We need to create our controls. And Duick's going to do that automatically for us. We don't have to do anything. It's an amazing tool. Really recommend you guys support them any way you can. They have a donation link on their website, but like this tool is honestly amazing. So just click this auto rig and IK button. If that button's not there, then you probably are still on your rookie settings, like that I told you to change at the start. If that's the case, you can find that button also in your links and constraints tab right there. Boom. So that'll be fine for us. And you'll see that our timeline has definitely changed, or our layers are definitely expanded. Let's just collapse these. It's going to be fine for us. And there you go. So you can see all of our controls in this list. Sometimes they're just easier to click on in that list than they are in the actual scene view. But our next step. So look at, before we move on, just look at how this arm bends right there. See that? This is called IK, or inverse kinematics. And that means that when you grab this end point and move it around, the software automatically figures out where to position that elbow. That way you don't have to rotate them against each other in order to get it into the right spot. So it's really cool. It's really the best way to be animating. You don't want to just animate everything in forward kinematics, which is just the regular like sort of parent relationship hierarchy of stuff. But so yeah. All right. So next step is we have to get our drawings to start following these skeletal structures. So when we move these controls, these structures are going to follow, and we want our drawings to follow them. So we're going to parent all of our drawings to those pieces. So I'm going to unlock all of these drawings. Boom. All of our drawing layers. And so this is forearm front. So if we move this around, we can see it's this arm right here. Let's move that back into position. And we basically need that to follow specifically, whoops, let's get it out of that. We need it to follow the forearm skeleton. So we want forearm front to follow forearm right there. And the way we can do that is two options. We can then parent pick whip, which is nice. So if I click this and drag over to forearm, boom, see how forearm appears as the parent of that? Now when I move, let's see, let's select that. Let's go to that hand again, hand 2, and move it. See how that elbow, see how that forearm just follows that joint? Like, that's so awesome. That's beautiful for us. So that's just done with that pick whip. You can also, so for hand front, I know that I want it to follow hand from that. So if I go to this list, I can also just click on that and then look for S hand. Don't parent it to any of the C's up here. See how they all, that stands for control. We're going to parent to the structure. So let's do hand. You might do hand 2, and then you're like, okay, that looks fine. And then you start moving hand 2, and you'll see that that's not, you parented it to the wrong hand. So the skeletal structure might not be the right one. You can always double check which it is, which one you're going for. So if I click skeletal hand, nice. I'm looking for hand front. So I want hand front to follow that. So make sure you're using the right hand, because there's hand and then there's hand 2. See that hand and hand 2. So make sure you're parenting to the correct one. Arm front, that's going to be arm in this list. Boom. And then we don't parent anything to arm tip. That's this little end bit right there. We don't need anything attached to that. Waist, that's going to be our hips. Boom, right there. Next up, we're going to do torso, right? So torso, that's going to be, like my torso drawing is this sort of abdomen region. And that's going to be actually parented to spine 2. Or no, my bad. Sorry about that. Not spine 2. No, not that. We're looking for spine 1. My bad. Spine 1 right there. And then chest, that's going to be on spine 2, because these are all spine joints in there. But that we have that our hips, then spine 1, then spine 2. And you can see which ones they are, what they're specifically named in this hierarchy here. But yeah, and then let's do forearm back. That's going to be on, so my S forearm, just basic, that's our left one. So with forearm back, we're looking for forearm 2 in there. So let's click this. Looking for forearm 2. Hand back, that's going to be hand 2. Arm back, that's going to be arm 2. Upper leg front, let's see what our legs are named in this list. So our screen left thigh bone right there is just our regular thigh. It's not thigh 2. So let's move, let's make this upper leg front a child of thigh. So now when we move those, it's going to follow. But yeah, toe front, that's going to be toe right here, S toes. Foot front, we're looking for S foot. Lower leg front, that's going to be calf. That's our calf bone right there. Upper leg back. Let's see. So that's going to be, we're looking for thigh 2. Thigh is the upper leg. Thigh 2 right there. Perfect. Toe back, we're looking for toes 2. What was that? Foot back, we're looking for foot 2. Lower leg back, looking for calf 2. And let's see what else we got. Neck and head. We're just going to make the neck the parent of that, and then head, we're going to make head the parent of that. So now we have all of our parents sort of situated. At this point, you can lock your layers down here. Beautiful. Don't need those anymore. And then you can also, let's see, we can also viz off all of our skeleton. This is if your character is working, right? So if they're parented to the correct one, that it's fine. You're fine just vizzing those off. Sorry, I got one of the drawings. And you'll see when I move my controller around. There we go. My character is bending nicely with it. Now some of it's broken. You see that? See how this leg in the back is the backside leg is bending the wrong way. It looks like he's breaking his bones and is honestly kind of terrifying. We can fix that by, if I just drag this down, if you click on that foot, and then you'll see in IK foot settings, you have a reverse. Boom, right there. And then it's going to bend the proper way for us. So we're going to make sure I find it easy to select the whole body in this list. The other controls are kind of spaced a little bit too tightly around there, so sometimes it's just easier to click the body and then start moving around. But yeah, see how that knee is now bending the correct direction? Same goes for if your arms are bending the wrong direction, anything like that. All right, so we have our characters set up now. Congratulations. Well done. Next up on the list is start animating this. We need to animate this character. So in order to do that, we need to start exposing some channels, and we also need to give ourselves enough time on the timeline. Like so, let me close down Duic Bassel. We don't need your help anymore. You've done all of your glorious work for us. So I don't have much time on this timeline, right? So what's including for my drawings down here. So a nice way to just increase our time is, one, we need more duration of this composition. So if I right click wizard or red wizard, no poses, that's just whatever current composition you're in, right click that, make sure you have composition settings. Let's give ourselves a few more frames in here. Let's do like 22. Boom. And then whoops, Let's go into composition settings. My bad. That was the start time code. My bad, guys. Let's make that 0. Let's go back into composition settings. There we go. And then duration. That's what we're looking for. My bad, guys. Don't want to be misleading y'all. There you go. And so now we have a few more frames on the timeline. Beautiful. Lots of stuff to work with. We can make that whatever duration we want. But let's just select. At this point, let's select all of our structures and drawings because they only last 1 frame. Notice how, like, as soon as I go past that, they just no longer have any of our features. So let's just click that one, then shift click down here. Oh wait, let's unlock these. My bad. We want to have those unlocked. So I'm going to click that and then shift click down there. Then right click. We're going to go to time. And then time stretch, and let's just give ourselves like a bunch of frames in there. Boom. It's gonna think for a little bit. Boom. Then now we have a nice duration on those. Clearly enough time to sort of mess around with some animation in here. So now we need to expose some channels so we can start keying some of these features. Let's get, for instance, let's get this hand moving. So let's click on this hand layer right here. And if you press P, that's going to open up position. Then you press Shift R, it's going to add rotation to this because we want to key both of those. And make sure you click the stopwatch. Boom. When you click the stopwatch, that's going to make 2 keys right there. Boom. And you can see that you're on a keyed frame by these being highlighted. And you can go in and visually edit these. And it will update the position down there. If you want to edit the rotation in here, it's just your W key. And then you can move that, and then you can press V to go back into your regular move or your selection tool. And yeah, so now you have a key right there. Let's go like halfway down the timeline. So let's go to the frame 11, and let's move this into another pose right here. Let's press W and start. Whoops. I'm going to lock these layers down. Lock these layers down again. I don't want those doing anything. And let's click on that hand, and then let's rotate it with W. Boom. So now, if we drag our timeline, look at that animation, the magic. It's happening right here. If we want to get these keys onto this last frame so they loop nicely, let's just move our time slider over there. I'm just going to drag select over those 2 keys, Control C, and then Control V. So now you can see that as I drag along this timeline, it is just matching it real nicely. Amazing stuff. Amazing stuff. So now let's get one of the feet in here. And let's click on this one. And so foot 2, we need to expose that position and rotation of that. So, boom, if I press P, and then press Shift R, boom, that's looking great. Remember, you have to click that stopwatch to make that initial key. You always have to click that stopwatch. Otherwise, After Effects isn't going to keep track of what you've done, and it's going to be really sad. All right, so let's move this forward. Whenever you're walking, you're going to have that if your arm is swinging back, like if your right arm's swinging back, then your right leg is going to swing forward. It's always the opposite. You don't want to just have the same side swinging like that. These are your arms are counterbalancing your walk as you're going through. So make sure we're doing that as well. And then let's get that next key for when it's over here. So if I drag my foot over to the left, a good amount. That's looking nice. You'll see that my foot can stretch a little bit beyond. I don't like that, so let's go into my options and let's do stretch, and then let's turn auto stretch off. Boom, you see that? So then you're gonna get some weird tearing right there. We can fix that as well. So let's get this to a more reasonable distance away. And something that's super cool about these rigs is that you have all of these control for like the toes and stuff if you drag these values, but you also have a foot roll. So if I drag this forward, see how that's bending up nicely? And if I drag that back, I can oh, I can just get that looking like they're actually, like that foot is really flexing and doing some work there. You can also change your keys down here if you want to change the position of it with these values. It's how like our motion graphics designers work frequently, so they're used to fiddling with those values. Notice that how that foot roll value is up here. If you want to bring that onto your timeline here, you can select that channel and then press U, and then let's press U again. And oh, it's not appearing. You know why? It's because I didn't set that stopwatch on that foot roll. That pesky stopwatch, y'all. You gotta be aware of that. So now if I press U, it's gonna appear down there. Make sure, yeah, any channel that you key, put that stopwatch on there. Make sure it's highlighted blue. I'm also gonna just key this rotation just to make sure we're keeping track of that. And then let's go back to this beginning. Notice how that foot roll value has continued there. Let's key that down. Let's just click on this and press 0 to give us a nice zeroed out key right there. And then so boom, right there. Simple, very nice. And then remember, you can always drag your time slider to the end frame, left click, drag over these, Control C, Control V, boom, they appear right there. So there you go. There you go. Nice little animation that we have going here. So now I'm going to press a V, or I could just use these positional values, and let's get that hand, let's get that leg raising right there. I'm going to do 0. I'm going to do 0 foot roll, and then let's do rotation. Boom. There we go. So now it's going to look like that character is leaving the ground with their foot and stepping forward. It's exactly what we want. It's exactly what we want. Beautiful stuff. All right, so let's keep doing this for all the other. Controls. So let's get this other foot in here. Remember, press PR. Click those stopwatches. I'm also going to use foot roll, so I'm going to click that stopwatch as well. And let's change this position. Let's move this back into space. Right there. And then I'm going to turn off auto stretch. And let's do that foot roll. Boom. Just to get that sort of crick in there, right? That's going to look nice. And then let's move to frame 11. And we're going to zero out that foot roll. Boom. You could also do it down here. If you press U, it'll show you that keyed channel. Let's change the position. We could go in here, do it like this. Boom. Very nice. Very nice. And then I'm also going to key the rotation, just make sure I line up all my keys. And then we're going to go to the end frame, drag select over these, Control C, Control V. Beautiful. And then let's also zero out the foot roll at this frame and then raise it up. Raise it up and then W and bend that. Very nice. Very nice. Look at that. Very cool stuff. Very cool stuff. All right, so for the last one, let's get this hand in here. P, Shift R. I'm going to key both of those. Let's get it in a good spot for us. Beautiful. And then let's go over to frame 11. Let's get that moved over. And you'll notice that my hand is slightly overlapping that thigh. So if we wanted to change that, that's going to be hand back I'm looking for. So let's unlock that. I'm just going to shift that behind everything. And then let's track our timeline, and it's looking good now. Very nice. All right, so now let's go back up. Oh, let me make sure to lock that. I hate selecting those drawings on accident. And then let's copy that first key, Control C, and then my time sliders over here. So Control V, and then you'll notice, boom, it looks great. So this is exactly what we're looking for. You could also add a bunch of just nuance to this, like so. Something that I would think would really enhance this right away would be our hips position. So if we go to hips, let's press P, and then let's make sure we're keying this. So I'm going to set a key right there, and then as it goes, as this foot right here moves under us, we can move that hip up a little bit. Boom, you see that? Boom. So now that, oh, now that, oh, there we go. Okay, cool. So that's moving along now. Actually, my bad. I'm not gonna do the hips because the neck's not moving with that. Instead, I'm gonna leave it as is. Let's go shrink that down. Let's do body, because if we do body, then our head's gonna move with it. It's gonna look a lot nicer. So let's click the stopwatch and start setting some keys there. And then let's move that up. Sometimes you have to refresh that selection. There we go. Very nice. And then on this step, see we're up too high now. I'm just gonna click that first key and then paste it right there. I'm gonna do it at the end as well. And let's click this other bob key, like that up key. Let's do it right here. Actually, let's do it right here. So now if we play that animation, it's looking good. Looking good. There's a little bit of hyperextending on that elbow. That'll just take some time to get in there. But yeah, we could also like mess around with this bend, you know, so to give them a little bit more naturalism and stuff in there. Let's not bring them too low like this, or we're just gonna break our rig. But yeah, let's keep it like that. And looking great, looking great. All right, so I'm gonna save at this point. All right, next step is we need to get this looping in our walk cycle composition. So let's click back on that. Let's go to our project tab. So now we have Red Wizard. And then if we drag that into our timeline, now you see that he immediately disappears. But he does have that animated loop. My duration for this scene is insane. So let's scale these back. We don't need to see all of that. My gosh, that is insane. There we go. Let's just make that tiny, right? So 7 seconds, that sounds good. Now let's do 6 seconds, sure. So next step, we need to get this. We need to get this Red Wizard looping, right? Because right now, he's not quite doing it. So if we right click and then go to let's see, time, enable time remap. If you click that channel and then alt click on that stopwatch, we're going to type in a little bit of code. So if I type in loop out, and then in these parentheses, quotation marks, cycle, and then you're good right there. That's all you need. Now, if we go into this duration here, we can just slide that to the end or even past, and you'll notice that he's walking. He's doing that walk. Super cool. Super cool. And you can change the the framing of this bad boy however you like. You can scale him down and then put him into a spot on the screen. And then we could key that. We could open that position by pressing P, and then keying that and then having them walk across the screen, we can do that. To get a scrolling background, though, we're going to do a little bit of setup. So I have a background element of just like a chamber hall. So let's import that. I'm going to import file. That's going to be my background. This is what I'm going to be tiling across there. So then background, we're going to drag that into, actually we're going to instead create a new composition. Let's give it a decent duration. Let's do like sure, let's do like 10 here. Actually, just do a full minute. There we go. It doesn't matter too much. Make sure you're on 1920 by 1080 and stuff. Frame rate 24 and remain consistent with that. Let's also call this looping background. Looping BG. There we go. And so now let's drag that background into here. And then let's drag another one into here as well. So we're going to have two backgrounds going through this scene. And our goal is to just have them kind of scrolling past each other and then looping. What we can do is press A and change this anchor point to 0 right there. And then if we press P on this, position can be 1080. Or wait, no, 1920, my bad. 1920. There you go. So now they're perfectly aligned that way. It's going to be pretty nice. And let's press the stopwatch on that. Let's press P on this and do a key on that first frame as well. And then let's just have these. Let's scroll down the timeline a little bit. I have 10 seconds of footage here. Wait a minute. No, more than that. I have like a minute and 10 seconds. So we don't need to see that much. Let's go into. Let's get yeah, let's go to let's do a loop of like 4 seconds or something. There. And then let's at this point we're going to want to move both of their positions. So let's move them this way. And I want this first one to read or this bottom one to read as 0 to know that we've moved it that full distance. Beautiful. That's exactly what we want. And then what we're going to do is Alt and then click on this, and we're going to do loop out cycles or cycle. And then I'm going to do the same for this. So I'm going to Alt click this. There we go, perfect. And then you should notice that now as I play this animation, it's just looping nicely for us. There we go. There we go. Looking good. Looking good. All right. That's exactly what we want. Okay, so now we have that looping background composition in here. So I can save my file again. Let's go back to that walk cycle comp, and let's put in that looping background composition. Boom, there we go. So now that looping background is in our scene, and it already looks pretty solid in here. It already looks pretty solid. There you go. If you did need to loop your background as well, you could always do that same time remap and then click this little stopwatch and do the loop out cycle. Just make sure you spell it this way. It does auto-complete it, so that's pretty nice for us. But yeah, just put it in there, and then you're done. Then you're just absolutely done. Set however long you want to render with N. That's going to change your work area N, and then you can file. You can export. You can add it to. I like adding it to the Adobe Media Encoder queue because then you can use H.264 to really reduce your file size in there, and it's just fantastic that way. But yeah, so that's the tutorial, y'all. That's it. That's all the steps. But yeah, it's just a lot of fun. I prefer animating this way with a puppet rig rather than trying to mess around with like parenting and stuff and animate. It is a little bit more there's a little bit more tech to it, but also just the depth, the depth that you can do, because you can do really cool rigs and stuff. You can do like faces, all sorts of things. But yeah, so that's it for this though. All right, have a good one, y'all.